Today, Erendira will be talking about, or she's the executive director of the Sustainable Living Center, and we'll be talking about the sustainability and ways we can improve on that in our lives. It's a little bit of a different topic for us, of course. We usually do historical things, but we like highlighting partners in our community, and sustainability is related to conservation, which is related to preservation, and we love preserving history. And people in the past, of course, had to live sustainably. Probably had to be more aware of that than we do today. And we can learn a lot from trying to be more sustainable in the future as well. So I will be sharing a screen in a second. I'm going to make you host so you can do that. And yeah, thank you all for joining us. And let's see, does that work for you?
Yeah, let's get to the correct one here. Can everybody see a jumbly looking screen?
Yes, I see that.
All right, awesome. So thanks, Groover, for the introduction, and thanks for having me. I was just thinking, as you were saying about preservation and conservation and sustainability, a lot of the things that I learned about sustainability were actually from my grandma, who grew up in Germany during the war and post-war. So yeah, there's a lot of things that have happened through history that make it necessary for us to be sustainable today. But also, if we don't have a future, then how can we have a past? So again, thanks for having me. And it feels really weird to be talking to just my presentation, so bear with me. I'm the executive director of the Sustainable Living Center here in Walla Walla, and I have been the director there since 2012. Actually late 2012, early 2013. So we do have a number of programs, and we'll go through all of those. I do like to think of these types of presentations as an open dialogue. So definitely ask questions as we're going along. I think Groover is going to monitor that for me a little bit. Feel free to jump in and ask for more clarification. I think of this jumble screen as kind of a skeleton for the conversation, and we can definitely flesh things out as the interest in the topic dictates. So please feel free to chime in and add your 2 cents worth or ask questions. I like to start my presentations off with defining sustainability, because sustainability is one of those buzzwords that gets thrown out around quite a bit. Green, sustainable, but what really is sustainability? And here's the definition, the dictionary definition. Sustainability means meeting the needs of the present while ensuring that future generations have the same opportunities through stewardship of resources, economical, ecological, and socially equitable. So that's kind of like the dictionary definition. To me, it feels a little bit hard to relate to. So I found a number of years ago, I found this little YouTube video, and it's a little cheesy, but I think to me, it's a little more relatable and gives me, and hopefully you, a better idea of what we mean when we say sustainability. So I'm gonna click on this and hopefully it'll come through for you, okay?
Sustainability means that things can keep going, can sustain themselves, can continue into the future and go on forever. From a human perspective, sustainability for our planet means that it can continue to do what it was designed to do: provide fresh air, clean water, produce food, and allow us all to have a high quality of life forever. Unsustainability means that it cannot, and that is where we are now. 20 years ago, scientists in Sweden developed a definition for sustainability with 4 basic principles. These can be seen as the care instructions for our planet. If we follow them, it is good for our planet. And because we're part of the system that is our planet, it's good for us too. The care instructions are as follows. Reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and heavy metals. Reduce our dependence on synthetic chemicals that persist in nature. Reduce our destruction of nature. Ensure we are not stopping people globally from meeting their needs. Demand for the Earth's services, clean air, water, food, increases as the population increases and living standards rise. But the Earth's ability to provide these services is declining because of the way we're living. In our search for prosperity, growth, and success, we are destroying the system that we as humans are completely dependent upon, nature. We humans have become a threat to our own way of life. The Earth is a system and everything is connected: society, environment, and economy. To live sustainably, we need to follow the 4 care instructions and apply them to everything we do at home and at work. If we can follow these care instructions, we can work together to be sustainable. We will all have a better quality of life. We'll waste less, we'll pollute less, and we'll create more things we value in society, while improving our planet's chances of providing us with the very things we need to survive.
So hopefully that was a little bit of a help for you. And I apologize if I'm a little bit rusty, but I haven't done a presentation in 16 months or so. So as we go along, it should get much easier. All right, so now that we've defined sustainability, let's look at the Sustainable Living Center and kind of how we got started. Back in around 2001, our founding director, Erendira Cruz, who's a realtor here locally, went to a sustainability fair in John Day. And back, if you can think back to 2001 or so, compact fluorescent light bulbs were just coming out. The wind generation was increasing, solar energy was just becoming more approachable for people, or accessible, I should say. And so Karen came away from this festival thinking, how can I help spread the word about this? And I like to think of this quote, "Be the change you wish to see in the world," as kind of the starting point of the Sustainable Living Center, because Karen really wanted to show people how you could live more sustainably and adopt some of these new technologies. So the Sustainable Living Center, our mission is to conserve resources for the future by encouraging and facilitating sustainable living practices in our community. And we do that through programs and partnerships. We have a wonderful board of directors. Mike Fredrickson is our president. Todd Blackman is our vice president. Tom Osborne is our treasurer. Karen Yeager, our founder and secretary. Ursula Vollweiler is a member, and Betsy Russell Carroll is a member. Super, super lucky to have a talented and passionate group of people behind the scenes here. So back to our beginnings, once Karen had kind of made this decision to spread the word, she engaged a bunch of community partners, and starting in 2001, became the Northwest Renewable Energy Festival. So that was a 2-day festival, and that happened, I believe, 3 or 4 separate times. One was at Whitman, and a couple were at the fairgrounds, and it was kind of this very fun, information, resource laden type of event that people could go to. And we had keynote speakers and different resources to check out and engage in. Then in 2005, we established a year-round physical presence and became a resource for the community. And if you think back in those During that time, the internet wasn't quite as accessible. There wasn't this wealth of resources readily available at pretty much anybody's fingertips. And so we kind of became the clearinghouse for sustainability, information, resources, green building. And we had our first little place here at, I believe it's a salon now, on Myra Road, right down there by Home Depot and across from what used to be Shopco. So that was how we got started. And where are we today? Today we live in the Water and Environmental Center at Walla Walla Community College. The Water and Environmental Center is kind of a unique building because it's a community gathering place as well as an educational facility, and hosts community partners. So this idea of having co-locators is a central part of this building at Walla Walla Community College. And we are one of the 5 co-locators. We pay rent, and we have 2 offices there, but we also get to use the classrooms where we normally have workshops and learning opportunities. So hopefully soon you'll be able to join us there and learn more and have more opportunities to engage with sustainable topics. Some of the other co-locators there, the Water Master has his office there. So for the Department of Ecology, the Walla Walla Watershed Management Partnership has been there for the last many years. Unibest is a international soil testing company. They have their lab there. Their offices are downtown. And then CTUIR has the whole kind of, as you're looking out the front of the building, they have the whole left wing of the building. So as well as being a community resource, we also benefit from having each other on the same property and being able to establish some collaborative partnerships. So that is where we are today and have been since about 2010. So what do we do? We have a number of programs, not the least of which is the outreach and education. So we typically, COVID kind of messed with us as it did with everybody, typically have a public workshop series. This is usually in the non-summer months. So around October to May, or sometimes even June, depending on mostly how much help we have. So we do at least monthly workshops on sustainable topics. So we've done like energy saving, healthier eating, beginning gardening, food preservation, and just a ton of different topics like that. And we do have, once we've done a workshop, we post the resources on our website. So if you go to our website, there's a workshops resources page, and you can see all of the handouts and sometimes the presentations as well, depending on the topic. Then we also, during the summertime, mostly do farmers market and community events. Obviously, we haven't been out in the community as much as we'd liked for the last year or so, but are happy to be back at the farmers market starting June 5th. So not this weekend, but next weekend. So if you haven't been down to the farmers market, you have an extra reason to come and see us too. We do some grant projects, and normally that is with school or a particular group like the senior center, or just various grant projects that are specific to a topic or a project, specific funds tied to that, and then it has typically a definite start and end date. Did I see a question pop up here? I'm gonna click on that. Nope, I can't. That must be Gruber's.
Oh, it just popped up. It says, thanks so much for sharing this information. Do you have a time frame for when you'll be able to offer on-site workshops at the CC?
That's a really great question. And I do get to hear from down the hall a little bit because we do have some CC staff in the building as well. It looks like, and this was something that I just overheard today, but they're still pretty restricted right now. And they're hoping that once the state opens up, which the governor has indicated would be towards the end of June, that the higher education will get additional guidance as well. But as of right now, we're restricted to 10 people at most, and they have to be associated with the organization. So as of right now, it's not looking very positive, but for the fall, I think when we would be going into our next series, we'll be able to offer a full roster. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Awesome. Thanks for asking that question. We also have a few events that we've kind of pioneered. Your Green Life Festival is a collaboration that we've done since 2014 in conjunction with the Sweet Onion Festival. So we've had our own little like corner or block in some cases. It's kind of expanded and contracted over the years, where we have sustainable focused vendors. We've had some of our local insulation contractors or HVAC contractors. We had the tiny home people there one year. So we usually have like little booths set up with education and resources for people who are also visiting the Onion Festival. And then we've also pioneered this concept of the alternative gift fair, which we've had for the last, 4 or 5 years, where we have several nonprofits. I believe the most nonprofits we've had, and was somewhat limited by space, was 30, which was in 2019. And we had that at Reed Center at Whitman College. And we have all of these nonprofits come together to speak to the community about the services that they offer in the community. And then people can make donations as an alternative to traditional gifts. So they make a donation in the name of somebody. And so we've just tried to have it be an informational thing for nonprofits to be able to get their name out there and visit with each other. I know for me personally, it's been so rewarding to talk to other nonprofits and see all of the great impact that is done in the community through that. Let's see. So that is the outreach and education component. I'm going to see if there's any other questions here. Was there another question, Gruber?
Just the one at this moment.
Okay. It still shows as a little bubble there, so.
There we go. I moved it to answered now.
Okay. Thanks for that. So next we're going to talk a little bit about Builders ReSupply. So Builders ReSupply is really a tangible way of people to connect with the Sustainable Living Center and the things that we do, because it's actually a physical location that you can go to. So we have this little store, and it's dirty and dusty and super lots of fun. It's out by the airport. If you've ever been out there, you know that it's kind of out of the way, but once you find it, you don't really forget about it. We do take donations of new or used reusable building materials and then resell them to the public. And Builders ReSupply was opened via, was kind of it started as a feasibility study. So the people that, sorry, I said I was a little rusty. So a group of individuals that were connected to the Sustainable Living Center back then wrote a grant to do a feasibility study And they actually had in mind that somebody like Habitat for Humanity would be running this store. So they just wanted to see if it would be feasible for our area. That was the main focus. And then when they got to the end of the grant period, they found that they still had some money left over. So they asked the EPA if they could use that money to actually open the store. And they said yes. So we opened the store, and it landed with the Sustainable Living Center, opened in the fall of 2010. So because again of the pandemic, we'll have to make up a 10-year celebration this year. Last year was just not conducive for doing that. We had very limited hours at the time. And obviously we didn't want a bunch of people coming in all at once. So the store itself, we divert over 50 tons of materials from the landfill every year. And the store typically it doesn't run itself, but it pays for itself. So we think of it as not a profit generation center, but a community service. And we have 2 staff working there, not full-time, but 2 part-time staff. And then, you know, folks that are on a limited budget, or if they do have this idea that sustainability is the way to go, they'll come out there first. And we have, you know, plumbing materials and lighting. Light fixtures are a big thing because fashion changes, and people like to get different styles, and the old lights are still perfectly fine. They just aren't the color that people are looking for. So you can kind of, if you like the stuff that it was around 10 years ago, you have a good chance of finding something that you like at the store. We think of it as a win-win-win for the community, again, because we provide a place for people to bring their still usable items. We have a opportunity to purchase things at a lower cost. And if you've been to Home Depot lately, the building materials market has really felt the pressure from pricing due to some of the natural disasters that we've had, and the a lot of factors that have really put some pressure on pricing for building materials. And then we also have the employment factor. Obviously 2 part-time people isn't huge, but it is employment for the community. And then we also offer volunteer opportunities. And hey, that stuff is not going away, because there is no away. This is an actual picture from our very own Sudbury landfill. Any questions about Builders ReSupply?
We've got a question. When is the store open?
Oh, good question. I should have put that up here. So currently we are on expanded hours. Yay. 10 to 5, I'm sorry, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Wednesday through Saturday. And the address is 551 Lockheed.
Thanks.
All right, there's no way. Moving along to our another program is called Smart Business Partners. Sandra Cannon, who's a long person who's been involved with the sustainability for pretty much since the beginning, and also had a big hand in the opening of Builders ReSupply, is the volunteer program coordinator for Smart Business Partners. This program started in 1991, not with Sustainable Living Center, obviously, but some other local interested people, including Sandra, as the Green Seal Business Program. So that name, for obvious reasons, had to change. And I say obvious, but it may not be so obvious to you. There is a nationwide Green Seal program, so we had to back away from that name. The Smart Business Partners program is a free advisory program that helps businesses and organizations save money by being more sustainable. So we help businesses identify and set goals to reduce water, energy, waste, and materials. The idea is that by doing that, you're also increasing or you're enhancing your bottom line as a business. Plus, you get this public recognition. All you have to do to become a smart business partner is to make and achieve one goal, and you'll get this lovely sticker for your front door, your business storefront. If you're a chamber member in the past, we've also had a chamber business award for smart business partners. Because of the timing on that switched around a little bit. And due to the pandemic, it remains to be seen how that will move forward, but definitely you will get this recognition, and you would be listed on our website as a smart business partner. All right, so we're going to move ahead to the Community Energy Efficiency Program. So this is another program that is, I call it our bread and butter program, because it's been really a huge part of the operation since 2009. Again, I'm going to grab a quick drink of water here. Thank you so much. So again, if you can recall back to 2008, 2009, we were in pretty dire straits as a nation with the Great Recession and the housing market falling to pieces and no jobs. And the American Recovery and Restoration Act came about with funds to do weatherization. The ARA program was conducted as a pilot by the Washington State University Extension Energy Program. Now it's just called the WSU Energy Program. But this pilot started in 2009 with about 8 partners statewide. And the focus was on, well, there were 3 focuses. So it was education, energy savings, and employment. So the 3 E's. And so the idea was to provide a low-cost home energy audit, and then our auditors would make recommendations for upgrades, and that has not changed. We like to do the energy audit so that we can provide some third-party neutral advice for homeowners, teach them about how their home works. It seems counterintuitive, but you know, when you throw open the windows in the heat of the day, you're letting a lot of heat in. And sometimes people don't realize that if you close the windows and close the blinds, your house will actually stay cooler. So that's the education component. Recommendations helps people decide what upgrades will make the most sense for them. I always like to say that they're not always the most glamorous things, like putting insulation in your attic isn't very glamorous, but it can really pay back for people. And then the program also, throughout the time that it's existed, has helped fund qualifying upgrades. The primary upgrades are insulation and high efficiency heating equipment, along with insulating, you know, attics, walls, and floors. We also insulate and seal duct systems, ducting that moves the conditioned air throughout your home. And then also some measures like smart thermostats, heat pump hot water heaters, windows. Windows is a big one. We always require that if you have recommendations to do insulation and windows, that you do the insulation first, because that is where the payback is. Was there a question there?
The question is CEEP recommended more for homes of a certain age? Do newer homes tend to have fewer efficiency issues, or does it vary?
Yeah, that's a great question. The energy code since 2008 in Washington is pretty robust. So typically if your home is 2008 or newer, you should be pretty well covered. That doesn't mean that by now, 12, 13 years ago, you may not see some efficiency lapses or loss of, yeah, I shouldn't repeat myself, but loss of efficiency in your heating equipment, or if you're feeling like, mostly, I would think probably mostly at this time, the heating equipment, your insulation should be good. But yes, it depends on your scenario, and some builders are also better than others. So some builders, even after 2008, while they're required to adhere to code, they may still take some shortcuts that affect the efficiency of your home. So if you're feeling a draft, or if you're seeing some airflow issues where you have some mold building up, or if you have cold areas in your home, those are all indicators that a home energy audit might be able to clear up for you, provide some answers.
And we just had another question come in. Does the homeowner pay for the assessment? Can you explain how the rebates work and what they tend to cover?
Yeah, absolutely. So the actual audit is subsidized as well. So typically, a home energy audit would be in our area a $300 to $400 expense, but we're able to offer it for $95. So it is a subsidized component of that. That's what starts the process. So we do require the audit unless the home has been audited in the past. If you purchased a home and you gave us a call and said, hey, has this home ever been audited? And it was, then you wouldn't have to pay for it. But so that's the starting point. Our auditor will make prioritized recommendations for efficiency upgrades. And then you would go out, you as the customer, homeowner, would go out and solicit estimates for the scope of work that you determine. So we don't, even though the recommendations are prioritized, we don't say what the scope of work needs to be for you. You could do all of it, you could do none of it. The only, like I mentioned before, the only kind of rule we have with those is that if you do have insulation and windows recommendation, that we do require the insulation be done before or in conjunction with the windows. Once you have some estimates, you send them into us, then we would give you an idea of what your scope of work would cost to you. And we look at the actual qualifying upgrades. We look at what our incentive would be for those upgrades. And then we look at any utility rebates for those upgrades. So we would let you know, you already know because you got the estimate, but we say, okay, here's the estimate, here's how much we would pay, here's how much the utility will pay, here's your bottom line out of pocket cost. Now, all of that helps you make a decision on what you want to do or can do. If you decide to move forward, then we give you an authorization, which basically locks in your incentive funds. And then once you have that authorization, you can give that to your contractor and say, hey, we're cleared to move ahead. Let's get this work done. Once the work is done, you pay for the work, and then we do a final inspection. So that's another benefit of having the audit done and going through the program, is that you will have a final inspection through us. So we see the before and the after. And then once that final inspection is done, we process your rebate or incentive, and then you're responsible for submitting your utility rebate.
And we had two other related questions. How do people sign up for the audit? Are they happening during the pandemic? And someone would like the contact information for how to look into this program.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to jot down the phone number, that's the easiest way to initiate the process. It's 509-524-5218. And we offer the program in Walla Walla, Columbia, and Franklin counties. So if you're in Umatilla, unfortunately, it's a Washington state program, so we don't have funds currently for Oregon. And if you need that repeated, 509-524-5218. We do have audits going on through the pandemic. We do have a process. It's basically a permission to proceed process. So we let you know what the expectations are from the auditor standpoint, and we adhere to processes to keep everyone safe while they're in the home. Right now, we don't do some of the diagnostics that we would typically do. One is a blower door test, which tests the leakiness of your house. And basically what it does is it pulls all of the air out of your house. So because we don't want to move all this air around, we aren't doing blower door tests, and we do make every effort to get in and out as quickly as we can without compromising the intent of the audit. So they're a little bit shorter than they normally would be, but they are still going on.
You said Umatilla, you don't have it's just not, you can't do Umatilla County, or they're just not subsidized?
Yeah, we don't have any incentive funds. We can do an audit. It would be more than the $95 though.
Okay.
Yeah. We can address that on a case-by-case basis if you're interested. All right. So bread and butter program, we do a lot of work. So traditionally, and I mentioned that it started back in 2009 with the ARA funds. That ARA funding ended in 2010, 2011, but the Washington State Legislature saw the value in this and continued to fund it through the capital budget, and has funded it since then through the capital budget. We operate on what we call phases. So we're currently in phase 6, which is from late 2019 to it'll go through June of 2021. So typically they're lined up pretty well with the Washington State budget cycle. But for this period, we've had 371 customers. We've done 268 energy audits, even without having several months of no audits being done last year. It was a little bit scary. We've done 157, or actually, I shouldn't say we've done them. We've facilitated 157 jobs via 31 local contractors. So here again, employment and demand for energy efficiency services comes into play. We have 31 contractors that benefited from having this program. Our incentive payouts so far during this period have been $448,500. We still have, from now to the end of June or so, an additional approximately $200,000 still in the pipeline. So we've got about 40 jobs that are still working on getting wrapped up now. And customers have actually, and this is one of the things about this program too that I should mention, is that unlike a low income weatherization program where the homeowner or the renter landlord don't put any of their own money into it, the SEEP program always involves matching dollars. So customers have to put in a component we would never, I shouldn't say we would never, but it is our intention to not ever pay more along with the utility component than 90% of the job. So even in the most favorable condition, you would still be asked as a customer to pay at least 10%. So having said that, customers have put in over $1.2 million. The utilities have contributed, and this is included in the $1.2 million because the utility gives the customer their money back, $183,000. And so that's a total impact or work that was done here locally of $1.658 million. So pretty impactful program. And usually I pull out my little spreadsheet that has the square feet of insulation and convert that into football fields and stuff like that. But a lot of insulation and a lot of heating equipment. Any other questions on that? Seeing none, I'll move on, as my board president would say. So we always get a lot of questions about solar, and I popped this in as it's not really a program, but it is something that we talk a lot about and that we help facilitate as well. So even though the SEEP program doesn't provide a solar PV rebate or incentive, we use the SEEP framework to offer a solar rebate. And this is wholly through the generosity of a private funder. It's a couple who are taking all of their, I forget what they're called now, but the minimum required distribution, I think is what it's called, out of their retirement fund, and give it to us every year for the last 3 years and say, here, go give solar rebates. So it's pretty darn cool. So we are actually very well suited for photovoltaic and solar and thermal solar. Solar power generation offers many benefits to homeowners and businesses, but it can take several years to pay for itself, depending on your actual individual factors. We do find that a lot of households here have gas as their main heating source. So that's one of the things that I remember from day one coming on as the executive director, that you have to spend money to save money. So if your heating bill, heating and cooling is typically your primary energy use in the household, over 50% typically. If your heating is gas, you may not see the benefit of going solar. If you want to switch to electric and then do solar, that's a consideration, but probably also only if your heating equipment is at the end of its lifespan. So I've outlined a few of the pros here, most notably the federal tax credit, which was set to expire at the end of 2021. I didn't go back very far to look into that, but the federal tax credit was set to expire and is now has now been extended. So you can get 26% federal tax credit in 21 and 22, so this year and next, and then it'll go down to 22% in 2023. Another pro to that is if you are considering battery backup, that expense can be rolled into that as well. So even though it's not technically solar, it is a part of the solar system, so you can include that. Another benefit is there's no sales tax on solar installations in Washington state. the up to $3,000 SLC rebate that I just mentioned. And then there's favorable financing options. So we have a number of, well, I shouldn't say a number, we have a few organizations, banks, credit unions that offer energy financing, energy specific financing, and that can be in the very low range, 3 to 6%. Obviously depends on a number of factors as well. And then finally, we have a net metering system where you can offset your own energy use by having your excess generation go back to the utilities. So that is a requirement in the state of Washington and Oregon, if I'm not mistaken. Some of the cautions are, it is typically a high upfront cost. I like the analogy that one of the solar installers that I'll mention as well uses. It's like a car. It's like the cost of buying a car. So you could go to like a $20,000 car, or you could go to a $50,000 car. It depends a lot on your household, your energy use, your appetite for higher quality equipment and that kind of thing. Existing conditions I'm sorry. So yeah, the high upfront costs can be a barrier for many. Existing conditions can be a barrier as well, because if you have a house that's not ideally situated, or you have tall mature trees, which typically is a benefit from an efficiency standpoint, but if they're blocking the sunlight, then that can be a challenge. And then solar contractors, we have very accomplished and effective solar contractors, but there are a lot of companies that are kind of capitalizing on this interest in solar to kind of, I won't say do unethical things, but that they may be pushing the envelope in some situations. So I always caution people to, get more than one estimate, and make sure that they're not pressuring you on time. Like if you have to make a decision tomorrow, then that's probably not the right contractor for you. So I think I saw a question.
The question is, if SLC doesn't do an assessment for this, is there someone local who can be contacted, or do you initiate the process through SLC?
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. And I wasn't very clear on that. Because we use the SEEPS framework, we do require the audit. And so even if it's a new home, we'll still do an audit. And that's just to be consistent with other customers as well. And then the process is similar. The only thing is that it's not the state funding that pays for the rebate. It's this private funding. Also, kind of a benefit of doing the audit for that is that if you do have other opportunities, then you'll know about that before you size your solar system. So if you're, say you live in an older home and you never realized that the insulation was only R19 and code is R49. So if you install that additional insulation, you won't have to size your system as high because you won't use as much electricity, if that makes sense. That's just an example. I hope that answered your question. All right. And when I go into the resources, I'll give you a little bit more, a few other options to look at as far as solar goes, to do if you're interested in doing some more research. And of course, you can always call us. The number I gave you is our main office number. We're happy to entertain any and all questions at any time. All right, so moving along from energy and solar to Walla Walla Valley Farm to School. This is our toddler, I say, because it's a new program for us. The program itself has been robust and has existed in Walla Walla since 2007, and this was an effort by parents to increase the amount of healthier and local foods in school meals. It actually started out at Sharpstein, and the first garden was also built at Sharpstein, and it's gone through some cycles of funding and non-funding, and the kind of the founder, I guess, part of the founding group, and program manager, Beth Teal, if you're familiar, just really poured heart and soul into this for a number of years, probably 10 or 12 years, and just recently moved out of the area. And so in 2018, when she kind of saw the things changing for her family and needing to leave the area, approached us, and we started talking about how the Sustainable Living Center might be able to take on this program, and how that might be an asset not only to the program itself, but also to the Sustainable Living Center. And there is precedent for this. The Center for Eco-Literacy, I believe, in Oregon, has Farm to School under their sustainability nonprofit, and so it made sense, and it definitely is a lot of I guess you could say growing pains, but we're really finding some fertile ground, if you will, to carry on this important work and to continue growing the program in our valley. So the idea or the concept of Farm to School is a national effort, and it focuses in three main areas. One is education, and I put down students and teachers, but it's actually also community. So community education is a big part of it as well. The students and teachers more from the boots on the ground in the school garden standpoint, but when you're engaging parents and other community members, they get the benefit of that as well. Again, the kind of central tenet for starting it here, local procurement for school meals, is a big factor as well, or a big goal, I should say, as well, on a national basis. And then school garden support. A lot of entities that work in farm to school efforts offer one or two of these. We're kind of lucky that we're in a kind of smaller, tight-knit community that we can focus on all three of these goals, and have been doing that really since the program began, but we were carrying that on as we go forward with Sustainable Living Center Farm to School. So yeah, it really truly is a toddler, because it's about 2 now with us. And yeah, so August 2019. We have a wonderful, accomplished program manager. Her name is Ray Cooley, and we currently provide direct oversight and management of 6 school gardens, and 2 of those are in Oregon. One's at Ferndale and Milton Freewater, and one is at Athena West and Athena Elementary. So it's a really cool program. Again, one of those avenues for teaching kids when they're younger, helping teach parents, cooking, growing, getting in touch with the soil, and actually, you know, developing all of those. Sorry, my hand hit the trackpad. Building all of those skills that kids can carry with them into lifelong habits. Any questions about farm to school? All right, I have a few pictures. These are very recent, so we're just so thrilled to have kids in gardens after the year that we've had. So this is the garden in Ferndale, and they're examining the qualities of topsoil to report back to the aliens from Zorg, I think was what I was told. So pretty fun. And then this is an activity that was going on at Ferndale or at Athena over the last couple of days. So it's really fun to see kids again. All right. So I promised we would talk a little bit about what are the things that we as individuals can do to adopt more sustainable practices to help build sustainability into our lives. There's a really wonderful resource that I was not as aware of in the past, but has come into my consciousness here in the last couple of years. And it's a book called Drawdown. And it kind of shows, I brought it with me, but I don't have it here at my desk. It shows each of the main areas. So food, transportation, energy, agriculture. So some of the very main components of our lives that affect sustainability. And it helps interconnect them and give you very specific and doable solutions that aren't like, you don't have to buy an electric car, you don't have to put in a solar system. There are things that anybody can do, and you can focus on behaviors that work for you with an exclamation point, because not everybody comes at sustainability from the same way, and not everybody has the same appetite for different behaviors. So like we're not all going to become vegan, or we're not all going to commute by bicycle or walk to work. So there are things that you in your life can do, and learning more about that is, to me, the first step, and has been the first step for me. Because when I first started this position, I don't come from an environmental sciences background or anything like that. I worked in retail, for heaven's sake. And I thought that I was like very sustainable because I recycled and I did, XYZ gardening and had my own chickens and But as I've come into this, I've learned a lot more, and a lot more ways that I can work in my life with things that work for me. So adopting those behaviors. Another way that you can make a difference is by influencing your family and friends and coworkers. So it's not about, oh, you have to do this, or, oh, but even just knowing. I walk my dog in the mornings, and on trash days, when I see some of the things that are in the trash, like aluminum cans and things that are infinitely recyclable, and we can talk all day about recycling, don't get me started, but there are things that you can help your family and friends realize without seeming like you're trying to make them do something. And just by modeling behaviors, a lot of times change can take place. Volunteering is another way that you can make a difference, by volunteering at Builders ReSupply, or volunteering to teach a workshop if you have skills in an area, or if you have a special interest in an area. That's a great way of becoming involved. Joining a challenge. This is something that to me is kind of fun, and I'm gonna switch my screen if I can here real quick to, I'm gonna go out of this and go here. This is actually an organization called ecochallenge.org, and they actually have a drawdown Eco Challenge. So you can participate. Currently there are, I think I saw it was 7,000 some odd people. This is a picture of the drawdown book here. But they have all these little areas that you can take actions in. And so say your area of interest is building resilience, you can take on actions. So you can tour a green roof. We do have a green roof in our town. I'm not sure if you can tour it, but it's St. Mary's Hospital has a green roof. Support microgeneration, support nutrient management. These aren't very, that might have been a bad example. How about electricity? So calculate the carbon footprint of my household, choose renewable energy or purchase renewable energy credits. But there's a bunch of things that you can challenge yourself. They're one-time actions or repeated actions. So you can not only learn more, but you can also take action. I have to look at that a little bit closer, but this is one of the resources that I'll give you as well. And this is the Drawdown Eco Challenge, but ecochallenge.org also has other challenges. So we just got done with the Earth Day Challenge. I tried to drum up some support for the Earth Day Challenge, but I didn't get much response. So I'll have to keep working on that one. But that's what I mean when I say join a challenge. And there are other challenges out there. That's not the only resource that there is, but that is one of them. And to me, it's a very effective one. All right. Going back to how can I be involved? Oops. I have to go through these slides again. Sorry about that. Yowza. This is really slow. Sorry about that, guys. I'm sure there's a better way.
While you're going through the slides, we got a question. They say the farm to school program sounds incredible. Subsistence is so important for kids to understand. Do the students grow the food that is used at their school, or do local growers participate? And do Sustainable Living Center employees or volunteers run the program? How is it funded?
Awesome, all awesome questions. I'll try and remember them all. if I ask you to repeat it.
Yeah, no problem.
So the kids do grow food in the gardens. Most of the food that is grown in the gardens, and it's pretty incredible how much food you can grow in a small garden, is used in conjunction with the lessons. So if there's excess food and the cafeteria is willing to use it, they will incorporate it into the school meals. That depends a lot on this particular school. So in the past, there have been kind of events built around, like when there's potato harvest, the school will, the cafeteria will prepare the potatoes and cook them for the kids to eat. A lot of the salads and greens, they cook themselves out in the garden. And when I say cook, I mean more like prepare, because probably not going to cook lettuce. But so, and then any excess produce beyond that has gone to typically the senior center, and especially during the pandemic, all of the produce from the gardens went to the senior center. And for the senior center, who had gone from serving about, I apologize if I misstate this, but about 500 meals to 1,500 meals, really appreciated that influx of fresh local produce. We do have partners in the farming community. Most of that help comes from resources, so mulch, plant starts. We also have the Sustainable Practices Lab at the penitentiary, helps us grow out starts. We have volunteers, And we are always looking to incorporate parent volunteers into the lessons. Again, coming out of the pandemic, that looks a little bit different. But as we go forward and into the fall, I suspect that will be highly recruiting parents and community volunteers to help with the garden lessons. And then we do have staff. Our program manager is the primary staff, so she's a year-round. And then we have seasonal garden education managers, or GEMs, because they're gems. They're special, that help coordinate at each school garden. And that, of course, is dependent on funding, but we have had some support from the school and from some grants. So
If any other organization has a garden, or somebody has a garden and excess food, do you take that?
we typically haven't taken excess food. We do have, and by we, I mean the community has a resource at through the food bank right now, where there's a gleaning program starting. So if you have excess produce, I would suggest the reaching out to the food bank, because they can help coordinate that additional food.
And then Jen asks, how are your volunteer numbers since 2020? Are you in a shortage? Is there a way for people to contact you if they want to become involved? Awesome presentation with great information.
Oh, thank you. So volunteers, we didn't really have an opportunity to engage volunteers for Farm to School during the pandemic. And even at Builders, where we normally have volunteers, it was kind of a challenge as well, just because we didn't want to put anyone in harm's way, I guess you could say. And for Farm to School, obviously, with not having kids in gardens, that was kind of a non-starter in the traditional sense. But we can always use volunteers, and if you want to get in contact with us, again, the phone number is a great way to get in touch with us: 509-524-5218, or email us at info@slcww.org, and I'll show you that here as well. There's our website. We do have, I'm sorry, I'm gonna hang on for just a sec. Groover, did that answer all the questions for Farm to School?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And then somebody asked you to repeat the phone number, which you just did. So
Yeah, I'll do it one more time. Sorry, I didn't put the phone number on here.
There's going to be a follow-up email that'll
Oh,
be
okay.
sent from
That's
Zoom, so I'll
awesome.
include it in there as well.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So, so as far as resources go, here's our website. We do have social media. I know not everybody's into the social media thing, but we do use social media quite a bit for our outreach. We have, and it's kind of cool too from the social media standpoint, that we have a page for Builders Resupply, and for Farm to School, and for SLC in general. So if you have an area that kind of speaks to you more than the others, or if you don't want to be bombarded with other stuff that you're not as interested in, you can choose your affinity there on Facebook and Instagram. Our LinkedIn is a Sustainable Living Center. We don't do a ton with that. Pinterest is also just Sustainable Living Center, but for Facebook and Instagram, there's a page for each: SLC, Farm to School, and Builders Resupply. I gave you ecochallenge.org. And then Energy Sage, I wanted to make sure you're aware of this, and I'm going to stop sharing, but I'm going to go through these first so that I don't have to slide back through all those slides. I'm just going to tell you what they are, and then I'll show you. So Energy Sage is a solar marketplace that was developed through funding from the Department of Energy. years ago, and it's kind of morphed. And I'll talk more about that when I show you that resource. arsolar.com is a local installer, and I say local, but they're more regional. They have offices in Bend and in Seattle. Maybe not Bend, Medford, I think. But anyway, they have done a number of installations here. And the reason I like to point out AR Solar is because they were really one of the companies that really embraced education for our valley, solar education. They've come here on numerous occasions and helped us with workshops. So I know them, and I know their attention to customer service and their efficiency. They're just a really good company that has the right idea about how to do business around solar. So I will show you that resource as well. Your utility providers can be a great resource, especially for rebates and energy saving tips. There's always a lot of information on their websites. Just look for the conservation or rebates. And then this presentation is like, I guess you could call it public domain or publicly available at prezi.com. And the name of it is SLC Presentation 2021. So you can go back and look through the slides at your leisure if you want. I'm going to go back to my tabs. This is the Energy Sage. And the one drawback that I'll mention about Energy Sage, and this is something that's been told to me by the solar contractors, is it is a solar marketplace. So they do pre-screen solar contractors, and if you're pre-screened, then you can basically be on their platform, I guess. And the solar contractors have told me that it's kind of expensive to do that, and in kind of a larger marketplace, it might have a lot of value, but for the contractors here that are, traveling from afar, there's a lot of expense involved with that. And this is just one of the extra things that they would rather not spend money on. So you might not get the benefit from having really good contractors through this marketplace. But the reason why I like to point it out is because there's a lot of good education on here. So why go solar? Solar 101, solar financing, cost benefit, decisions, batteries. The more informed you are if you're interested in solar and you're looking at that as a resource, then you can ask the right questions. And so that is why I like pointing out this Energy Sage platform. A&R Solar also has a great website. So they've got they've got information that speaks specifically to our area because this is where they work. So you can look at rebates and incentives. You can look at, I believe they have a 101 section here as well. Between A&R Solar, there are other installers in our area. Walla Walla Electric does a great job as well. So definitely make sure that if you are interested in solar that you're reaching out to several contractors and then helping inform your decision and matching that up with what they're telling you. Let's see. I think, oh, here's our website. I was going to show you. So we always have our landing page here, our phone number, our links to our social media platforms, all these good things. So that's also a good place to start. And you can also join our mailing list. Just click here and you can get on our mailing list for workshops and that kind of thing. I promise we don't bug you. And we don't sell your information ever. I don't know how that even became a thing. So I'm going to stop sharing now.
Well, thank you.
Yay.
And there was another non-question. Thanks for helping Walla Walla become more sustainable.
Yay, thank you so much. So I
Well,
think
great. Thank you so much.
if anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to answer, but it looks like we're at the end of the program.
Yeah, I think we got it all.
Awesome.
Yeah, so in this, you'll be getting an email with a link to the part of our website where the recording of this will be posted so you can share it with other people. It'll probably be a day or two before we get to upload it. But that should be up there at that link then pretty soon. So share it around and it'll be preserved on our website for posterity.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And thanks to you who joined us. And like I said, we're always available for any questions. Just don't hesitate to reach out. And sorry for being rusty.
Oh, no, it was good. All right. Well, I guess everybody have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.